Hello, everybody, and welcome to a brand new episode, which is going to be a really fun one. I'm talking today with Sarah, who is a fairly new-ish time hacker, let's say. And what's so fun about this is that Sarah DM'd me on Facebook and was like, "Hey, I've had this great idea. Um, why don't you have me on the podcast to share the experience of joining and like what it's like to be new?" And I
Yeah.
was like, yeah, that's a great idea. And then you were
Yeah.
like, and then your response was like, oh no.
Oh no, you said yes. Yeah, it was definitely a bit like that. Yeah.
So before we go into it, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us a bit about who you are, what you're doing, what brought you to this whole world.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, my name's Sarah Cooper, and my job, if you like, is a personal trainer, and I run my business of personal training, kind of all sorts of different things, one to one, so face to face, kind of traditional, what you call sort of traditional PT. Do a bit of online work, and I've just sort of got just trying to sort of now get into a bit more online and a bit more of the coaching side of the business as well. So that's been quite good. Um, so I've had experience in all kinds of things. So I have worked in corporates in the past, and yeah, but now I'm sort of fully self-employed, doing my personal training. Yeah.
So what brought you towards, like, what drew you to the work that we're doing in Time Hackers to begin with?
Um, I think it's sort of like there's two sort of two answers to that, if you like. So the kind of like the longer term, like why I'm sort of like here, the longer term sort of picture was that about 18 months or a couple of years ago, my husband, who's also self-employed, became quite ill, and he couldn't work for, it ended up being about a month that he didn't work, and I was, running around like a headless chicken, picking, just working whatever I could, just because, we had bills to pay. And I was also, kind of sort of at that time as well, checking in with, other coaches that were talking about, working online programs, kind of that sort of one to many type sort of business. So I'd started to sort of go down that way, and or just to start to kind of build that idea. And this really sort of galvanized me, because I was like, I couldn't do any more hours, had no more hours in the day. And, I was kind of reaching that ceiling of income. So that was a bit like, oh, I kind of need to do things a bit differently. So again, watch lots of webinars, and I was kind of, starting to pull some things together. So I ran a couple of sort of mini courses, like, 5 or 6 weeks, just with existing clients and friends and family, whoever kind of wanted to join in. Just sort of, again, just to kind of get that sort of coaching, a bit more of that coaching group work. So that was all, yeah, that was kind of sort of ticking along. And then I it must have just been literally just a Facebook ad came up of you did like a mini course, like I think a 4 day course. And it was kind of like, oh, okay, this is quite interesting. Kind of, sort of, how to actually get things done, how to find more time, because that's what I was looking for, more time. and and again, I was kind of like, okay, do I, I was starting to think about a bit of investment. I was realizing that I wasn't going to be able to do this alone, put it that way. I had started working with a business coach, so she was really guiding me as to, on a business level, looking at it more as a business rather than just me running around training people. So it was all kind of happening at the same time. So I saw that, signed up to your the 4 day thing, and just it was just really, yeah, I just was like, really blown away with just this different way of sort of looking at things and approaching things. So I did the beginning of the week questions and the end of the
The
week
productive
questions.
week. Yeah, the productive week
Yeah,
method. Yeah. We'll
yeah.
link to
So
the course in the show notes for people.
I started doing that as well. So obviously listened through the course, started doing I actually just did the beginning of the week, have to admit. I didn't get,
Perfect.
yeah, but anyway, it was, yeah. And again, it was just really, I was like, oh, okay. I don't, and I think it was just that, it was literally just like focusing your brain. It was like, oh, okay, I've just got this, rather than me looking at my massive to-do list all the time. So I found that again really, really helpful. So yeah, it was all kind of ticking along. All these different elements now were coming in, which was really nice. And then, as I say, I was sort of thinking about doing a bit more investment, and I was kind of going, oh, I need more qualifications. I need to be doing more. I need to be more expert in certain areas, and and again, there's like literally 100. I'm definitely like, like looking at all these, oh, this looks good and that looks good. And then I sort of like came down to it, and I was a bit like, well, I could do more, I could do more sort of CPD, I could do more qualifications, but actually that wasn't going to get my new business ideas kind of off the ground. And I also thought, again, I think there was something in there about learning as well, as in, making it much more efficient when when you are actually participating in a course and learning. So I was like, right, okay, so this time hacker program is almost like the bedrock, the foundation. It's going to find me some more time. It's going to focus my brain. It's going to give me this, this kind of leapfrog into better learning, so that maybe, yes, when I do more CPD, I'm going to just be more efficient. And, so it's kind of like that. I thought, right, if I do the foundation of the time hacker course, and then, that again would then, I could build on it basically. Yeah, that's kind of, that's kind of how it came about.
So good. It's so fun as well because I've not been doing ads for that long. So it's so great to hear like how well it works. And for people listening, I know there's a lot of people listening that have heard us even speak about the Productive Weeks course. And
Mm,
so even for you to just share your experience of using that and how it actually helps you is really
yeah,
helpful, is really valuable and fun.
yeah, yeah.
And again, like those decisions that you were making, it's a lot, a lot of people are having that, like, should I get more certified? Should I get more
Mm,
qualifications? And I love how you describe this as like the bedrock and like, this skill that's going to apply to other things.
yeah,
Um, so so that's where you were, and now
yeah,
being on the other side of that investment, being in, what would you
yeah.
say has changed for you?
So yeah, lots of things. So I've done it for nearly 4 months now. So I joined in February,
Yeah.
and the two biggest things, like immediate things that came out of like, okay, like and again, I did try to sort of let the pressure off and go, okay, I'm just going to listen to the videos, just kind of pick it up. I don't have to go all like, perfectionist and whatever. Anyway, so I started listening, and then yeah, the two biggest things are decision making and the community. So for me, like personally, yeah, decision making was just, as I now realize looking back, was just not happening, like literally on any level. And I think the very first kind of post that I put into Time Hackers when I joined was that I would have like things sitting in my Amazon basket. I don't know if anyone else can relate to this, right? So I'd be like, oh, I need to get a birthday present, or this was particularly a new baby present, right? So, and I've sort of picked out these things, and this was just, this is very typical of like how I was operating. I'd ticked a few things, and it was like, okay, what sort of money do I want to spend? Okay, it's a little girl. Do I want to buy them pink, or do I want to just buy neutral? And I was going backwards and forwards, and honestly, like weeks were going by. I was now having to sort of choose different presents because the baby was getting older. Do you know what I mean? It was like I just wasn't making these decisions,
Okay.
and it really highlighted. And I think I've sort of put that in one of my posts, of saying, like I've got stuff sitting in my Amazon basket. I'm just not making even the smallest decision on these things. And that was just very typical. And again, I hadn't even actually realized I was doing that. I hadn't, until I sort of started to see how like Time Hackers was working. So yeah, definitely decisions. And I
But that's
think
it. I love what you
then,
just said then. It's like it's not even conscious. Like it's
yes,
almost like
yeah,
it's so normalized because it's just you seeing it that you're like, this is the way that we just do things instead of like this
mm,
whole other way to do things.
yeah, yeah. And I think I'd realized, like I always had, like in my brain, I always had like, oh, other people are just more decisive than me. Other people are just more dynamic. I'm just not that kind of person. I just can't be like that. I'm just, and then it just really opened my eyes to go, oh, actually, there are hacks to that. Do you know what I mean? Like, oh,
It's a
you
process.
know,
It's a learnable skill.
yeah, that's it. Yeah. And it just was like, oh, right. I don't, so yeah, I don't have this, I don't have this kind of perfect person who's making all the decisions and, Mrs. Dynamic and everything. It's, So yeah, so that's definitely changed. And again, with with the little things, then it started to sort of seep into the bigger things. And I found myself just like, oh, yeah, just kind of making decisions. I can't, again, it's kind of sort of happening in the background a little bit that and I think the sort of the things around decision making is letting go of the perfectionist sort of streak. So going, oh, it has to be the perfect present. It has to be within the perfect budget. It has to be, so that's why I wasn't making the decision. I would envisage the other person receiving this gift and, judging the gift. Was it the right thing or the wrong thing? So that would be the whole story around, this whole present thing. And it was just like, do you know what? Like the person's just going to be happy just to kind of get a present because at the moment they're not getting any present.
Yeah.
you know so just to get a present, and yeah, just and again, yeah, letting that perfectionist sort of element out of it, or taking that out of it and just going, no, it's just a present, it's a nice thing, and yeah, just kind of just not putting so much pressure on it, to be this sort of perfect, this kind of perfect thing. And
I think
yeah,
it's like
yeah,
what you're saying is like it's like you've got to notice what's happening
yeah, yeah.
and stop normalizing it and almost like challenge it in a different way. And then like as you
Mm,
do that with the tools, with the community, within yourself, you actually end up breaking down habits that, like you say, impact not just the baby present decision, but you start to see it in other areas and how really time consuming and energy consuming and just mentally consuming it can be
yeah.
to
Oh
carry
yeah.
so many decisions.
Yeah, yeah.
Like the best thing you can do is make a decision, even if it's like the present is a 7 out of 10. Like you say, the alternative is a 0 out of 10. So
Yeah,
like,
that's it. Yeah,
just pick the
exactly. Yeah.
seven.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's it. Yeah. And I think, yeah, and just it was just kind of like it actually started to feel nicer to make decisions than to look for perfectionism. Do you know what I mean? It was kind of like, oh, okay, this feels a little bit lighter now. And and just gaining a bit of perspective. I think again, it's, with, all the decisions, it was like I was really, pinpointing this one decision and everything was, sort of on, pinned on this one decision. It was like little tunnel vision. And it was like, no, 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 okay. It's, it's a present, it's a birthday card, it's a this, it's that. And as I say, those little things just started to build my confidence. And you start to sort of, you start to sort of transform into that kind of person, or that's what it felt like for me. That, oh yeah, okay, I can make decisions. And yeah, so and I think I definitely said at one point, things weren't even kind of going on the to-do list because it was like I was just making,
Yes.
get it, doing it, and it was done. And and I'm definitely operating in that way now. So yeah, that's been definitely the biggest change I've noticed.
Yeah.
Mm.
So let's speak about this because a few time hackers, for some reason, I've heard this a little bit like over the past few months. And by the way, for everyone
Yeah.
listening, Sarah DM'd me to be a new time hacker on the podcast like 2 months ago. It just so happened that I went away for 5 weeks, so we couldn't
Oh
do,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and I
That's
was
all right.
moving house. But these changes that she's speaking about, I think like your first post was like 2 weeks in, you were already making faster decisions. And then
Yeah.
the week after I hosted a call, and then you were like, I immediately implemented and sorted through the donation
Yes,
stuff
that's
that
right.
like it was just like so instant. I think like your brain just realizing that you can make decisions in an instant. And like you say, you can
Yeah.
just do something without writing it on a list. Like,
Hmm.
what?
Yeah. Yeah. No, definitely. Yeah, it's been really, I guess, yeah, refreshing would be one of the words I'd use. And I always as well like think, you sort of like, I always think to myself, like, I always hear these things, always hear about, people like making decisions and doing their thing, and and things have really changed and transformed. And again, I was like, well, that, that worked for them, that, they were obviously just in the right place at the right time, and it changed, and there was some sort of like magic to it in a way, do you know what I mean, that I wasn't able to access. um but yeah, I think it's just, I don't know. I mean, obviously, there's there is the psychology behind it, but it just feels very accessible, and it's sort of like, it just kind of drip feeds. Do you know what I mean? I don't feel like, right, gung ho, I must do these things. It's just much more fluid, and it's just going, well, yeah, I could go do that. Yeah, that's fine. So it's again the pressure. I think the pressure is released on a lot of these things. Yeah.
I think this is it, right? Like, when you get to the root cause, you don't need pressure, right? When you solve for
Yeah.
like what's actually going on underneath. So it's not like, oh, I'm not making this decision because I've not written a pros and cons list and considered and evaluated and done enough
Mhm.
research. I'm not making a decision because I'm scared that if I make a decision, this person's going to judge the present and they're not going to like it. Well, that's a different problem to solve that doesn't actually require you going back and forth, writing long lists, researching, evaluating pricing, going into ChatGPT and saying, what's the best present that I could ever get? And then what about this? And now they're 3 days older, what else? Like it really is like, oh, I just need to be okay with them having thoughts about it, which they're going to have no matter what about it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, like you say, it doesn't come from, I'm so pleased you said that. Like, what we're not teaching is like force and pushing through and struggle. It's almost like it's
Yeah.
literally easier.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. It just feels lighter. It feels, yeah, that not like, my whole life is pinned on is, revolving around all these, decisions.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, definitely that's the sort of the biggest, or that's definitely been the quickest. And I think as I've gone through, other things are sort of coming in now, around other things. But I think that was definitely the biggest
Initial.
and sort of most impactful and quickest area that changed.
Yes.
um, and then yeah, the other element was the community.
Yeah.
So yeah, really really powerful. It's just so lovely. Yeah, just everybody in there, and the coaches. And I really remember having this thought, because had I gone into, I can't remember now, which it was basically like it was sort of happening at the same time. So I think I'd had like a one-to-one coaching session, and then I saw that coach come into group coaching and get coached, right? And it was just sort of like I had this moment of like, oh, they're getting coached as well. They're evolving, and so again, it was I really remember thinking this of like, oh, so you don't have to have it all worked out. You don't have to be at this end point to do whatever it is you want to do. So for instance, like with me, like I want to build this sort of online program, and and work through it. So in my mind, I had to be ready in all, I had to be, I don't know, whatever this kind of
Superhuman, right?
superhuman, this
Yeah.
this thing, this deadline or whatever it was, in order to do that. It just really made me realize of like, no, 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 everyone's just working this stuff out as they're going, and they're able to use their skills and expertise to help other people, and then they get helped as well. They then tap in and get coached. And it was like, oh, it was like a revelation. I was like, okay, I don't have to have it all worked out. I can you know just go along and try these things out and experiment, and I don't have to have it all worked out. I don't have to be this superhuman with all the knowledge that I ever need.
It's
So yeah.
it's so like I think it's one of the most powerful things about our community. You're absolutely
Hmm.
right, because a lot of spaces accidentally create this like hierarchy of like, I'm got it all figured out, so I can teach you. And what that does, it feels like a great way to sell, because you're like, this person has it all figured out. Let me pay them so I can figure it all out. But then when we don't figure it all out, we still think this person has it all figured out. So we quit on ourselves. We
Hmm.
take longer. We drag our heels versus like, oh, well, like at every stage, I always say like, there's no like end point. What did my dad say to me this week? He said something like, when you get to where you want to be. And I was like, Dad, I am where I want to be. Like I'm where I wanted to, like it doesn't mean I'm gonna stay here. Like where I want to be is changing, but I'm already like where I wanted to be 5 years ago. Trust me, I'm good.
Yeah.
Um, and it's just so funny, this idea that like, we need everything in place so we can arrive to this one point. We don't even like
Yeah.
stay at that one point. So it's just this whole I think seeing community in
Hmm.
evolution at
Hmm.
different stages, at different levels, actually allows us to speed up our own process, exactly as you said, because we stop thinking we need to be perfect to be doing
Yeah.
what someone else is doing.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. No, it was really, yeah. It was, I just loved that. I just thought that was, yeah, really great to see.
Yeah.
Um, and I think, and again, I also as well, because they're all different coaches coming in, to the group coaching. Everybody has their own style and their own. And again, that was really nice to see, because we always, well, I do anyway, I'm comparing myself to, oh, other trainers, so and so knows this, or that person knows so much more, and that kind of thing. And actually it's like, well, no, actually you know enough to to help other people, and you have an area of, you have some expertise, and you have your own style, which is going to be completely different to somebody else, but it doesn't detract. It doesn't mean that that's wrong or anything. It's
Yeah.
just, that's how you do it, and people will resonate with you. And so yeah, it kind of highlighted that area as well. Yeah.
Yes, it's very like intentional with this coaching certification. So just for people listening, anyone who coaches
Mm.
for us goes through our certification, and it's very intentional that on purpose we don't teach people. So I don't want like copies of Vicky, because again, like you say,
Mm.
everyone has different strengths and different uniqueness, and I think what people are craving is like that human to human connection, that like
Yeah.
let you see my messy bedroom while I'm on a live call, or like,
Mhm.
I've breastfed once while I was coaching in time hackers 2 years ago because I didn't have any cover last minute. And it's like that thing that we've been like shamed around, our uniqueness, our humanness, our messiness. What I've tried to do is create a community where it's like we can really be ourselves, and that creates so
Yeah.
much safety to actually make bold choices and have big crazy goals and like fail and not, hibernate for 2 weeks to recover.
Yeah, 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 definitely. Yeah. And again, yeah, like the Facebook group is lovely. People, and I've, done, obviously I've had a couple of challenges in there and things. So that's been, yeah, no, so that's been
Yeah.
really good. Yeah.
Amazing. So just for people, so I don't even really speak about the challenges a lot, which is sometimes a shame because I love it so much, but there is quite a lot on paper when you read it going on inside Time Hackers. But just so people know, every month we have like every 30 days we have like a new challenge, which is like kind of like a 5 minute daily task that you can post inside the group. Um, Typically built around like celebration or failing or even getting coached or whatever it might be, to
Mm.
just like think about like what's the least time I can give for the highest return today, instead of, I need to give 90 minutes every day to time hackers so that I can create a change. Like it's just not going to happen for busy people, is
Yeah,
it?
yeah. No, that's it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, that's been really good as well. And even just, having that thought in your head. So I think you're running the success challenge. So, I have been sort of like, it just kind of like, it just kind of runs around in your head, doesn't it? Do you know what I mean? It's kind of, although I haven't posted anything up, it's like, oh, actually, yeah, oh, okay, oh, I've thought of this and I've thought of that. And yeah, and again, surprising how much my brain doesn't want to think of success
Yeah.
in that way. Yeah. So even like you
That's
just mentioned, yeah,
go on.
sorry, yeah.
No, no, go
With
on.
um yeah, you just said about, I had that coaching call, and then on the group coaching, and I went off and I was like, right, I sorted through all my stuff, and and I'd been like sitting looking at all this like old kid bits of kids toys and whatever it might have been. So sorted it all through, and got to a place where I was, definitely a much better situation. And already my brain was like, well, you didn't do much after that, did you? Well, and it's like, no, no, I'm having to really pull my brain back and go, okay, but that was a success. That was something I hadn't done for 6 months, 12 months, and I did it. Okay, maybe I haven't done as much since, but that was still a point in time. And again, by remembering it, it's like, oh yeah, I did do that. Oh, okay, I can do that again then. I can replicate that, when I get that little moment of time, or, whatever. So yeah, to focus on the success is quite hard. You still have to keep pulling your brain back into it. Yeah.
That's why I think it's like so powerful to, like you say, be in community where I love what you just shared. It's like you're not even answering the questions, the daily questions, which by the way, people don't have to do inside. You pick and choose what you want. But just by being in the community and seeing other people, your
Yes.
brain is already doing the work. And that's a huge point. It's like not everything has to be work for it to work. Sometimes it can just be like exposure. Um,
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, just that little kind of little reminder. So yeah, that's been really good. Yeah.
so good. And so I know what's been going on, like let's say the last 2 months while so this is our first time catching up. So what's going on now in terms of like what you're building, what you're doing, what you're noticing that's different?
um, so I'd said to myself last September that in a year's time, I wanted to have like some version of an online program. So I kind of so I said I've done sort of a couple of mini programs and done a few sort of Facebook challengey things and stuff like that. So that's been really good learning. and sort of like, pulling it together. So I kept kind of talking about it, going, oh, well, my long term goal, my
Oh, okay.
long term goal. And then all of a sudden I was like, it's not that far away because that's like September this year. So then I was like, right, okay, I commit now, right, September. I've just got to have something, start putting something together. So anyway, so I've sort of like broken it down. So like at the end of May, I wanted to have like the outline and the what was going to be my videos, what was going to be my audios, my PDFs, that kind of thing. So I pulled all of that together, which was great. And I did
Amazing.
get to May, and I was like, right, okay. So then now at the end of June, I want to have most of it sort of like recorded, or at least on that way, because I've just actually done a little plan and realized I've literally got like 6 weeks till the kids break up from school. So this is
Yeah.
this
Full
is kind of,
reality.
yeah, exactly. This is kind of galvanizing me now. I'm like, oh,
Yes.
yeah. So anyway, I've started doing that. There is definitely a bit of fear coming in with this. So I have recorded I've done a first video, which is like the welcome video. And again, I think I did. So I did sit down. Um, so I've got, like, so I was like, right, okay, I need to work out a little bit of the tech. How am I going to sort of, record it? How are people going to get it? La 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 la. So I thought, right, no, I'm just going to sit down. I said to myself, at 2 o'clock, I had half an hour. I'm going to sit down and do this. And I thought, whatever happens in that time, I just have to get a recording done. So this, again, that's quite new for me, because again, it would be like, well, I'm just gonna write out what I'm gonna say. Oh, well, shall I? And then I'd start jumping around. Which one am I gonna do?
Yeah.
And then I'd be like, oh, I've only got 20 minutes now. That's maybe not long enough. So I'd have all these kind of stories. I'm like, right, no, I'm gonna commit to this 2 o'clock. So I did it, and actually, I was really pleased. I was like, it came out way better than I thought, and I'm really trying not to go back in and re-record it. Like, I'm a bit like, well, I sort of paused at that bit and I ummed and ahed, and did I miss some information? So I may still go back and record, because I do need to add a bit more in.
Can I
But
just
then,
tell you
yeah,
something? And this is for you
yeah,
and for everyone. If you go back, I remember I don't know what they said it about, but it just
mm,
rang true. If
yeah,
you re-record that first video, you're
yeah.
going to re-record every single video. You're
Oh
going to
no.
teach your brain
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, exactly.
that you can re-record it and you can add that perfection to it, and you can do, like, and it sounds logical, right? Like, oh, I've just missed this one point, that one point that could probably go in a PDF or go in the next video. You can
Yeah,
have another video of like key things to remember. Like, you get to do that, but one thing I will say is, you're building a habit now of creating this
yeah.
course, this new thing. And I think it was like one of my first podcast episodes that I re-recorded 3 times. And
Hmm.
whoever it was said, and it just landed, and I was like, I'm never re-recording an episode again. Never. And there's ums and there's ahs and there's, things,
Like,
there's all
yeah,
kinds of
little
things.
mess
There's all
ups, or yeah, say the wrong word, yeah, that kind of thing.
all kinds of things in this podcast series, or whatever you want to say. And we like just hit 1 million downloads, and we've helped thousands of people. And it's like,
Yeah.
does it matter at the end of the day? Or I could have been still re-recording, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. You
we
could
can
have been on
speak.
episode 2.
Yeah, yeah. So we can speak about this inside time hackers, but I just want to offer you that, I bet it's good enough. And if you
Yeah,
record it, then
yeah. Because I thought, well, what I could actually do
yes.
is, yeah, rather than re-record, is just do a little bit of editing, like kind of, so there was a bit where I was like, yeah, looking away or looking at my nose or whatever it was. So I kind of thought, but no, I was definitely much more, I was much happier with it. And also I
Yeah.
think as well, I'm kind of like, oh, I feel like I want to do the next one and the next one and
Yeah.
the next
Do
one.
that
So yeah,
instead.
yeah, that's it. So it feels like revamping the first one. Yeah, like you're right. I could be there a very long time, sort of,
Yeah. And
yeah.
it's like, and what's the like upside? I'll just even tell you, you've spoken about productive weeks on this call and how like
Yeah.
helpful and impactful it's been to you. I literally said to my team this week, I'm going to re-record productive weeks.
Oh yeah.
Right, like my brain is like, I want it to be in shorter videos, and maybe we'll do that. Maybe we can cut what it is, whatever it might be. But I just really want to offer you that, like, my brain has offered me to do that.
Right.
105 times since I created it 3 years ago.
Oh, that's
Like,
really reassuring. Yeah, yeah.
and it's like, how many times can I re-record? And maybe we will because we've got a different offer or whatever, but like, it's just your brain is always going to want to redo things that you've already done over doing
Yeah,
new things.
yeah,
And
yeah,
like you said, like your face literally lit up when you were speaking about, I'm really amped up to do the next video. Like that sounds
yeah.
way more fun.
Yeah, way more fun. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And again, also like, thinking about you re-recording your videos, I'm kind of like, well, you don't need to do that because, do you know what I mean? On the receiving end, I'm like, but they're fine. Like, it's perfect. I've got absolutely, more than enough than what I need from, any of the videos that you're thinking of recording. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, that's it. Yeah. So yeah, so that's kind of, that feels like it's actually gaining momentum. The next thing I need to do is a little bit of marketing around it, which again is my very fear-based
Yeah.
sort of area. So I think, yeah, I've kind of, again, I've got a plan. I've got a plan for that. I've planned
You've
really
got a
well.
plan and you've got the support for the root cause, which is the fear, because like a third of time hacking is all fear-based.
Yes,
So like you
yes.
have the tools, you have the community, you have the support. And I think
Hmm.
that's it. It's like, put in the GPS, know where you want to go, know what you want it to look like, but don't. I think if we ignore the fact that fear is there, we either end up pushing through and driving ourselves into sickness, which was my
Yeah.
story,
Mm,
or delaying, waiting for the fear to go. And then,
yeah, yeah.
10 years have passed and you're like, do you remember when I was going to do a course?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So no, again, in fact, I've just been re-listening to some of the fear-based, so the, sort of
Mhm.
fear and failure. So that's been really helpful. And I think, oh, I did want to sort of add in because obviously, I'm guessing a lot of people would come in like me, kind of right. I've got a bit of a goal. I've got a work orientated goal. I want to be more efficient at my work and my business and running things. And again, over these kind of like, few months, one of the biggest changes has also been in like sort of my personal life as well. And again, because I've like realized I take myself with me. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I'm not this, yes, you kind of wear different hats, but essentially, whatever my brain training is, I'm taking it into all areas, not just my work and business, with my family. And so, one of the areas that's really changed is I have been in counseling and specifically with grief. So, my dad passed away 13 years ago, and I never really did anything at that time. Sort of went headlong into having kids and all that kind of thing. So there's never been really any space. So over the
Yeah.
last couple of years, I've kind of started with counselling with this lovely lady, and yeah, and I've really transformed how our sessions have been going over these last few months. And again, realizing, oh right, okay, there was just I couldn't I mean it's hard to sort of explain, but it was just this element of my brain is doing things, and and it's coming up to protect me, it's coming up to stop me feeling the feelings, to stop me from revisiting, and whatever it might be. And I've done a lot of work with her, but I was just kind of I'm now accessing kind of different emotions, and I'm looking at things very slightly differently. I wouldn't say like, obviously it's not completely changed, but it's definitely these little, yeah, just like kind of the, I don't know, just little tweaks and things. And I'm, you know, definitely able to, access more emotion because I'm not afraid so much. And just going, okay, a bit more experimental maybe with, how I'm approaching things. So that's been a really big, really big change around. I've had some quite big, sort of minds, big shifts in, the work that I've done with her. So yeah, it's just really to say that all of your time hacker, program, it doesn't just affect me in work. It's, it has this sort of far reaching, sort of, it's quite far reaching in the rest of my life. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. I do appreciate you
Mhm.
sharing that.
Yeah.
And I think it's true. It's like the three core areas that we work on, our brains, our decisions, and our relationship to fear and failure, which is really, emotion based. Um, like those skills do impact all areas of our lives.
Yeah, yeah, massively. Yeah, which you don't realize sort of when you start, there I am doing my, productive weeks and beginning of the week questions, and then, I'm having counselling sessions and, really opening up and sort of exploring. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much for sharing that because I think it is really powerful for people to hear. It's definitely great to know for me as well.
Mm. Yeah, no, definitely.
Is there anything that you would say to anyone who is thinking about joining but maybe a little bit hesitant?
I would say it's kind of whatever thoughts you have in your head about it, whatever, it's like it's so different. It's so different to what you think it's going to be. I think that's, again, and I think actually it was quite funny because I think one of the coaches said this as well, that you come into the program, and I was coming in thinking, well, how is this program going to give me more time? How is it going to give me more time? There's 24 hours in the day. I'm a very busy person. I'm juggling, this, that, and the other. How is she going to give me more time? Kind of, that was that's almost like how I was sort of coming in, and and it's just so different. It's almost like the opposite of that thought process. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's just, you actually then go, oh, it's not that you're giving me more time. It's just that I'm really maximizing the time that I have, and I'm just moving through things quicker. And again, I think one of the things is like, I don't have to do everything. This was, again, a bit of a revelation. I don't have to do it all. All these things on the to-do list. Again, all those little hacks of just saying, well, I don't really have to do this. And I think I haven't quite done it, but there was one where it's like, if you haven't done something for 6 months, really, it's not that urgent, is it? Let's kind of get, let's prioritize a bit more, or I don't know. Yeah, as I say, so if anybody's thinking coming in, it's really not what you're thinking it is, if that really makes sense. You think it's this sort of time management and, how to manage your to-do list, and it's very, very different. It's, and as I say, it kind of, emanates out into all areas of your life. So I think that would be my that would definitely be my my words.
Yeah, and it's so interesting, Sarah, hearing you speak because I also think it's so different that I've almost not figured out really how to sell it super clearly.
I
Like
know, that's the thing.
like it's like it solves this problem in a really like what you said earlier about like not with pressure. It's just like it's actually easier to make the decision than not. But it's so
Yeah,
like counter to so much that's out there that it's like I can just imagine me like being on the podcast saying I'm gonna join time hackers and I'll help you make decisions without thinking about them, and you'll be like, what are you even talking about? Like,
yeah.
it's like it's nonsense almost because it's so
Yeah, that's
counter to
it.
like
Yeah,
if you want to make a decision, write down all the options, then write the pros and cons of every single one, and then do the research, then check with everyone else, and it's like this whole people have sold whole processes and systems around time, around
yeah,
decision making, and it's like people think they're going to come in and get my decision, my like 5 steps of how to make
yeah.
a decision, and
Yeah.
it's like it's the opposite. It's like we've overcomplicated it and we're going to remove all of that noise. And
Hmm.
so you become a decision maker. You're not looking for my process to making decisions. You just become a person who
Yeah,
makes decisions. And it's almost like
yeah,
yeah, it's funny. It's funny. I
yeah.
really
It's a
appreciated that.
real shift. Yeah, yeah. And also, I think as well, like maybe some people are thinking, well, again, same for me. Well, I'm not this sort of dynamic decision making person. How am I? How am I actually going to morph into, you know, somebody who does make decisions? Like, I couldn't see that leap. I couldn't see like, well, you know, first of all, is it going to give me more time? Well, no. Is it going to am I going to completely change personality? Well, no, that's not going to happen. So yeah, it's really hard to work out what actually does change. Like you say, definitely the pressure, and I think one of the key things as well is like the very very beginning when you say about how to get the most out of it. Okay, like, so there's obviously there's the things that you can kind of think about, and this sort of element of like focus
Mm.
and like engagement. I think that really spoke to me as well, of just saying, right, if you want, you do want changes, you're going to have to engage either, not just with material, the group, the coaches, and just kind of immerse yourself. So I definitely have taken that on board. I think that's been really key as well. So it's just this, I don't know, like, yeah, there's so many different elements, isn't it? But yeah, definitely engagement
Yeah.
has been really strong. So Yeah.
I think another thing that you've done really well just observing is like I think you came, it wasn't necessarily the easiest decision. You weren't like, oh, I've got money, I'm looking to like flash around and whatever. It was
Mm,
like, if I'm gonna
mm.
do this, I'm gonna commit. And
Yeah, yeah.
you something that I speak about that lots of people have spoken about on the podcast or in different programs that we've done about like deciding to belong. Like you took ownership
Yeah.
of yourself in the community, of yourself with the tools. And I think that's also why um you even messaged me and said I'm going to be on the podcast. Like that is to me a prime example of like you like you didn't just buy it to like be told what to do. You bought it to become a time hacker. And I feel like that's
Mm.
what you've done really well.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, yeah. So the whole, yeah, I think setting that up at the beginning about, the commitment, engagement, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of, I think really set the scene because again, I think like you talk a lot about like trust as well, trusting yourself again, which I've sort of like has been coming up for me just to
Has it?
go, yeah, just to say, and I think what was it? I did something. Oh yeah, I'd sent out an email, a bit like I was saying about this video. So I'd sent this email. I just do like a little I like write for our little local magazine and just do a little, article sort of thing, little column about, getting fit and things like that. And and I was like, right, did it, look, typed it, sent it, emailed, like brilliant, done it. Normally that would be hanging around for ages. And then I was
Wait,
like,
let's just speak through that a little bit more because I
okay,
remember
yeah,
now
yeah,
the
sure, yeah.
post, right? So you do this, you do an article, and normally how long does it take you?
Oh God, well, so I basically sort of I use previous, emails or articles and things that I've written. So it's already pretty much written. Okay. It's not like I'm writing fresh. Okay. So I get this email and then I'm like, right, I've got to tweak it a little bit because sometimes I use it and it's a different time of year, so just tweak it for the, so it's applicable to the time of year. So yeah, put it through. And again, I've got to sort of, it's got to be so many words. So I have to kind of make sure it all fits. La 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 la. I always like to include something that people can kind of take away. So, like a little something they can use straight away. So there we go. Like, so write it out. So anyway, so I start off with the draft, write up the draft, and then maybe go back to it a couple of days later, read it through. A couple of days later, read it through again, change like punctuation. Honestly, do you know what I mean? Or a full stop here or comma. What should we go? What are we going to use? Honestly, like,
Love it.
yeah, I'm really hoping people out there can identify because I
I
sound
can
completely mad. I
identify.
can sound
Yeah.
completely mad when I'm saying. So
Yeah.
yeah, like changing the punctuation. Oh, I'll just switch a couple of words. I've even done like when you do like the little thesaurus. Oh, I need a different word. I need a different word for this, right?
Yeah.
Honestly.
So good.
So that's what would happen. And then I would literally wait until the deadline because I couldn't commit the article because I might want to change it. So I would literally go to the editor on the deadline, the deadline for prints, right? So that would happen. And again, it would be sitting there. I'd be like, oh yeah, I must do that. Oh, I must do that article, must do that article. So this time I drafted the article, got the information through, like read through it, tweaked the little bits and pieces. I mean, literally like 20 minutes, like not even 20 minutes, that might have taken about 15.
Yeah.
And I was like, right, yeah, that's good enough. Made it to the, counted, did the words, however many words I needed, and attached it, sent it off. And it was like, I don't know, maybe a few days or a week early.
Wow.
And yeah, and then I was like posted in the groups of saying like, this is phenomenal because this just never happens, right? And so then, and then my brain went into complete overdrive,
Yeah.
right? So then it was like, oh, well, actually, maybe I should have focused on the walking. I've been doing a Facebook little challenge about people getting out walking. Maybe I should link it. Okay, maybe I should do that. Right. Okay, I'll start again. So I don't think I actually started again, but I kept going
Your
round and round in my
brain,
head.
this is so important for everyone to hear
Yeah, yeah,
because it's like we think once I arrive to that place where I can get the thing done in 15 minutes, my brain will be fully on board with this change. And it's like
yeah.
you've just changed a huge habit. Your brain
Mm,
is going to try and drag you back to like, we did that once, let's never do that again. I'm terrified and scared. And it's about like continuing to be like, yes, it is. I get that you're scared. We've changed a habit, and this is the way we're going to do it. And this is why most people can like start really well on a Monday, and by Tuesday they're like back into the old habits. This is
yeah.
exactly what's going on, and this is
Mm,
why I think like you know, like as you said, the value of the community, the value of a place to share, the value of a place to be celebrated and to sit in the success and all of these things. Like
Mhm.
what we are doing is reprogramming your brain. Your brain, you know, that's your time tool. And you can just, what happens as you start to move away from it with your conscious brain is your subconscious brain is still programmed that way. And eventually
Yeah,
you just get to be like, oh, that's just my subconscious brain. I don't need to listen. But
yeah.
we have to be willing to have that kind of messy start.
Oh
And I
yeah,
think that's where most people quit.
yeah. That is really uncomfortable. Really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And yeah, and it just went into overdrive. I've got to do another article. I was literally like writing an article, setting up another Facebook group, um, like tapping into another trainer that I know. She's running something. I was going to link her in. I was like, oh my gosh, right? Like, no, no, no.
Yeah.
I thought you've done it. Just move on, move on, move
Yes. Yeah.
on. And yeah, yeah. Yeah.
So fun. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, one of my favorite things is always to be like when my brain is going crazy, telling me to do something, is like my brain can't make me get up off the sofa. Like it can keep telling me that I've got to do all the
Yes,
things, but it
yes, yes.
can't make me get up off the sofa.
Physically, yeah, that's it. Yeah, only you choose to kind of,
I
yeah, 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 yeah. That's it.
know.
Yeah. And the funny thing was, we watched. Have you seen the film The Croods? Have you seen The
No.
Croods? Oh, okay. So anybody who's watched The Croods, so it's obviously it's about this cave family. It's animated, and we
Amazing.
we really love it. Yeah. And the really funny thing was that I've watched it at some point in all of this, and there's the dad caveman, and he's like, got to keep everybody safe. So this is, like you talk about the, sort of primitive brain, and his two phrases are never not be afraid. So, and anything new is dangerous, right? And he lives by these rules to keep his family safe. And I was just
Yeah.
like, when I was watching it, rewatching it, I was like, yes, that's what it's doing. That's what my brain's doing. Never not be
So
afraid.
good. Never not be afraid. I love that.
Yeah. So yeah, I was thinking of that. That's funny.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So thanks for being here and sharing all about time hackers. And for everyone listening, I'll link to the Productive Weeks course and time hackers. But I also, is there somewhere that people can find out more about you and what you're building and what you're doing, or connect with you on Facebook or a website?
Yeah, yeah, I've got Facebook,
Yeah.
Instagram. I've got a little landing page thing. So yeah, I can send some links if you want. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. So we'll add those in the show notes too, so you can stay
Thank
connected
you.
with Sarah and maybe even join her course in
In
September.
September.
Amazing.
Yeah,
And
great.
what's
All
fun
right.
is some people might not listen to this until September because people join the podcast all the time.
Yeah,
So
sure,
now you've
sure.
put it out and committed to the universe that it's going to be there in
Oh yeah, that's it. Oh no.
No, but we don't force, but yeah.
No, 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 that's
Amazing.
it, yeah.
All right.
Okay,
Thanks
cool. Thanks,
everyone for
Vicky.
listening. Thanks, Sarah.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.